Look, let's be honest, navigating the legal system is about as much fun as trying to assemble IKEA furniture in the dark while being chased by a particularly aggressive badger. And when you add children and money into the mix, it becomes a special kind of nightmare. Welcome, parents of Alabama, to the thrilling world of child support laws. You might think this is a topic reserved for daytime television dramas, but if you have a child and you're no longer with the other parent, this is your new reality. Knowing these rules isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely critical. It's the difference between your child having what they need and you staring at a court order with the same bewildered expression as a cat watching a magic trick. This isn't just about money, it's about obligation, fairness, and the well-being of a tiny human you helped create. Think of Alabama's child support system as a very, very serious board game, but instead of Monopoly money, you're playing with your actual rent money. And instead of a top hat and a thimble, the game pieces are legally binding documents that can follow you for the next 18 years. Fun! Alright, let's set the stage. In the grand theater of child support, there are two main roles: the person who pays and the person who receives the payment. The state of Alabama has given these roles fancy names. The parent who has the child living with them most of the time is called the custodial parent or the obligé. This is the person who gets the child support check. Think of them as the team manager, responsible for the day-to-day operations of raising a human, which, as it turns out, is shockingly expensive. On the other side of the coin, we have the non-custodial parent, also known as the obligor. This is the parent the child does not live with the majority of the time, and they are legally obligated to pay child support. Their role is to provide financial resources to help cover the child's expenses. It doesn't matter who filed for divorce, who was at fault, or whether you even see the child that often. If you are legally recognized as a parent and you're the non-custodial one, the state assumes you have a financial duty. This obligation isn't a punishment. It's a legal recognition that it takes two people to make a baby, and therefore it takes the financial resources of two people to raise one until they're an adult. So, how does Alabama decide the exact dollar amount that one parent hands over to the other? Do they consult a crystal ball, throw darts at a board covered in numbers? No, it's far more bureaucratic and slightly less fun. They use a system called the income shares model. The core idea is to estimate the total amount of money the parents would have spent on their child if they were still living together in one happy, non-divorced household. Then, that total amount is divided between the parents based on their proportional share of their combined income. It sounds complicated, and well, it is. But at its heart, it's a giant math problem with your life as the word problem. The calculation starts with a very important number: each parent's gross monthly income. This isn't just your salary. The court wants to know about everything. We're talking wages, commissions, bonuses, self-employment income, pensions, dividends, and even unemployment benefits. They want a full financial strip search. Once the court has both parents' gross monthly incomes, they add them together to get the combined parental income. This combined figure is then cross-referenced with Alabama's Schedule of Basic Child Support Obligations, which is essentially a big chart that says, for X amount of income and Y number of children, parents in this state are expected to spend Z dollars per month. This Z amount is the basic child support obligation, but wait, there's more. The basic obligation is just the starting point. Now that you understand the thrilling math behind it all, how do you actually get the process started? You can't just text the other parent, "You owe me money." You have to formally apply, which means entering the grand labyrinth of legal paperwork. The most common way to do this is by applying for services through the Alabama Department of Human Resources, or DHR. This is the state agency tasked with establishing and enforcing child support orders. Going through DHR is often the most straightforward path, especially if you can't afford a private attorney. You'll fill out an application, provide a ton of personal information, and then the state's legal machinery slowly grinds into action on your behalf. Be prepared to gather a small forest's worth of documents. DHR will need proof of, well, everything. You'll need your child's birth certificate to prove they exist and you're their parent. You'll need your own government-issued ID, like a driver's license. You'll also need the other parent's full name, last known address, social security number, and employer information. The more information you can provide about the other parent, the easier it is for the state to find them and serve them with the necessary legal papers. And then comes the financial documentation. This is where you prove your income, and by extension your need for support. You'll need recent pay stubs, W-2 forms, or federal tax returns. If you're self-employed, you'll need profit and loss statements. You also need to provide proof of any childcare costs or health insurance premiums you're paying for the child. Every dollar you claim as an expense needs a receipt or an invoice to back it up. So you've filed the paperwork, the other parent has been notified, and now you have a court date. Congratulations. You've unlocked the next level of this bureaucratic adventure. Heading to court for a child support hearing can be, honestly, incredibly intimidating. It's a formal environment filled with judges, bailiffs, and lawyers speaking a language that sounds only vaguely like English. The key is to be prepared. The main event of this hearing is for the judge to review the financial information from both parents and issue a legally binding child support order. This order will state exactly who pays, how much they pay, when they pay, and how they pay. It is, without a doubt, the single most important document to come out of this entire process. When you go to court, you must bring copies of all the financial documents you submitted with your application. Bring your pay stubs, tax returns, daycare receipts, and health insurance statements. Even if you already sent them to DHR or the opposing lawyer, have your own set ready. The judge may have questions, and being able to quickly produce a document is far better than saying, I think I sent that in a while ago. You should also dress appropriately. This isn't a trip to the beach, it's a formal proceeding. Business casual is a good rule of thumb. You want to show the court that you are taking this matter seriously, and your appearance is the first unspoken part of your presentation. Let's be perfectly clear about something. A child support order from an Alabama court is not a friendly request, it is a legal mandate. Thinking you can just ignore it is like thinking you can ignore gravity by just, not believing in it. The consequences for failing to pay child support, also known as being in arrears, are serious, numerous, and designed to make your life progressively more difficult until you comply. The state has a whole toolbox of enforcement mechanisms, and they are not shy about using them. The goal is to get the money to the child, and the system will apply pressure from every conceivable angle to make that happen. The first and most common enforcement tool is income withholding. If you are employed, the court will likely send an order directly to your employer, requiring them to deduct the child support amount from your paycheck before you even see it. This is non-negotiable for the employer. But what if you're self-employed, or work for cash? Oh, they have plans for you too. The state can intercept your state and federal tax refunds, seizing the money you were expecting back from the IRS and applying it to your child support debt. They can also place liens on your property, including your house or your car, which means you can't sell or refinance them until the debt is paid. If those measures don't get your attention, the state can escalate things further. They can report your failure to pay to credit bureaus, which will absolutely demolish your credit score and make it nearly impossible to get a loan for a car or a house. They can also suspend your driver's license. Yes, you read that right. They can take away your legal ability to drive, making it pretty difficult to get to that job you need to pay the support you owe. They can also suspend or deny professional licenses for doctors, lawyers, barbers, contractors, and even recreational licenses, like those for hunting and fishing. The state is essentially saying, you can't participate fully in society until you fulfill your financial obligation to your child. And if all of that fails, there is the final, most severe option: contempt of court. The custodial parent, or DHR, can file a motion asking the judge to find you in contempt of court for willfully disobeying the order. This will land you back in front of the judge to explain yourself. If the judge finds that you had the ability to pay, but chose not to, they can sentence you to jail time. People do in fact go to jail for failing to pay child support. It is the government's last resort, but it is a very real possibility. The takeaway here is simple. Do not ignore a child support order. It will not go away. It will only get worse. Life is not static. People get new jobs, people lose jobs, incomes go up, and incomes go down. A child support order that was fair and reasonable in 2025 might be completely unworkable by 2027. Recognizing this reality, Alabama law allows parents to request a change or modification to their child support order. You can't just decide on your own to start paying less because you had a bad month. And you can't just demand more money because you think the other parent got a raise. You have to go back to court and have the order legally modified by a judge. Any informal, off-the-books agreement you make with the other parent is not legally binding and will not protect you. To get a court to even consider a modification, you must first demonstrate that there has been a material and substantial change in circumstances since the last order was issued. This is the magic phrase. What does it mean? It could be a significant increase or decrease in either parent's income. It could be a change in the child's needs, such as a new, expensive medical condition. It could also be a change in custody arrangements, or a change in the cost of daycare or health insurance. Alabama law also provides a specific shortcut. If applying the child support guidelines to the parent's current incomes would result in a new payment amount that is at least 10% different from the existing order, that is generally presumed to be a material change. The process for requesting a modification is very similar to the process for getting the initial order. You must file a formal legal document with the court, called a petition to modify child support. In this petition, you have to explain to the court what the substantial change in circumstances has been. You will need to provide updated financial information, including recent pay stubs and a new child support guideline form showing what the new payment amount should be. The other parent must be legally served with this petition, and they will have the opportunity to respond. Just like before, it's all about the paperwork and following the correct legal procedure. Navigating the Alabama child support system can feel like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube that's on fire. It's complex, it's stressful, and the stakes are incredibly high. The good news is that you do not have to do it alone. There are resources available to help you understand your rights and obligations. The first and most obvious stop for many is the Alabama Department of Human Resources, or DHR. Their Child Support Enforcement Division has offices throughout the state and a website filled with forms, frequently asked questions, and contact information. They can help establish paternity, get a support order in place, and enforce an existing order, typically at little to no cost to the custodial parent. While DHR is an essential resource, it's important to remember that they represent the state's interest in seeing that the child is supported. They do not represent you personally. The attorney working for DHR is not your attorney. For personalized legal advice that is focused solely on your best interests, you need to speak with a private family law attorney. An experienced lawyer can guide you through every step of the process, ensure your paperwork is filled out correctly, represent you in court, and help you negotiate with the other parent. Yes, this costs money, but in a complicated case, the investment can save you from costly mistakes and years of future problems. If you cannot afford a private attorney, don't give up. Look for your local legal aid society. These are non-profit organizations that provide free or low-cost legal services to eligible low-income individuals. They often have lawyers who specialize in family law and can provide invaluable assistance with child support cases. You can find your local office through the Alabama State Bar website or by simply searching online. Additionally, some local bar associations have volunteer lawyer programs where attorneys donate their time to help people who can't afford legal representation. It takes some research, but help is often available if you know where to look. Finally, knowledge is power. Beyond official legal channels, arm yourself with information. Websites like the Alabama Administrative Office of Courts can provide you with the official court forms and the text of Rule 32. Parent advocacy groups and online forums can offer support and practical advice, though you should always be wary of taking legal advice from anyone who is not a qualified attorney. The most important thing is to be proactive. Whether you are seeking support or obligated to pay it, addressing the issue head-on with the right information and the right help is the best way to ensure a fair outcome for you and, most importantly, for your child.